Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube to Just Daf It. Daf Yomi Share Learning Kesubos Daf Lamed Dalit number 34. We have an amazing shir for you today. We'll talk more about interesting shita Rameir. The Rameir seems to say that not only Lokim Mishalim, but according to the Gemara, maybe even when you steal something and Toveach Umachar on Shabbos, or Toveach Umachar Avodah Zara, you would be chayav a knas, in addition to potentially being chayav misa, right, for skila, for violating Shabbos, or for doing Avodah Zara. How could you possibly be chayav both? Yesterday we gave an answer. Sorry about the cough. Yesterday we gave an answer that we're talking about a case, or Rabbi Yochanan says we're talking about a case according to Rameir, where he made a shliach to do the tvicha mechira. So technically, he's the one that's machal Shabbos, the shliach, who's ein shliach varavera. However, the Gemara is merabe that you could have a shliach for the knas of tvicha mechira. It's like mechira is the acher, so do tvicha is ali the acher. Do it through a shliach. So one person's chayiv the knas and one person's chayiv misa. So it's possible we don't say kim lebidarav minay. Now, the Gemara gives a different answer. Fine. So we're still in that. The Gemara is going to give a different answer. But right now, we're still trying to figure out, according to this answer, that was Rameir. What about the Chachamim? If we're talking about the case, it's Toveach Li'acher, so why didn't the Chachamim subscribe to the fact that it can be chayiv both Misa for one person and Mamon for the other person? So the Gemara says, the second to last line, my time with the Rabbanan. Sorry, if we're talking about that he made a shliach to do the shlita, so what's the reason the Rabbanan depatri? The Gemara says, "Man chamen Reb Shimoni." Top of Lamed Alman Aleph, it's Reb Shimon. The Amar shchita she'ein roiyah lo shma shchita. He holds that a shchita which does not allow you to eat the animal, right, is not considered a successful shchita in order to be considered toveach umacha, right? In order to be chayav dalad v'hei, a kefal dalad v'hei, which is 4 times or 5 times the amount of the original animal. You have to do something significant. Something significant enables you to at least eat the animal, or you benefit financially, or you're able to eat from it, which is also a benefit to you. If you can't eat from it, right? If you shecht a shor haniskal, right? It's aser b'hana. If you shecht avodah zara, it's aser b'hana. What about Shabbos? We'll see in a second. If you shecht an animal on Shabbos, technically you should be able to eat it. That's not a shochev Shabbos. The Mishnah and Chulin says a shochev Shabbos with Yom HaKippurim. Avlish was chayav v'nafsho. Shchita doesn't shera. Even though you violated Shabbos and you chayav skila, someone else could eat of a shchita, or you could eat before you die. Savar lak Rabbi Yochanan Sandler. No. So the Rabbanan hold in this brayso like Rabbi Yochanan Sandler. The Tanya Mavashal Shabbos shogi yochel. The mezid lo yochel divrei meir. It's an interesting machlokas. It happens quite often. People by mistake sometimes cook on Shabbos. They don't realize they're cooking on Shabbos. They might add water to the pot on the fire, things like that, or take it off, or have it's not fully cooked before Shabbos, and they place it on the fire where you fully cook it on Shabbos. So there's a lot of cases you might, someone might cook on Shabbos, right? I remember when I was younger, we used to love chumras, so we used to love, if you go to somebody else's house, right, and we're choshesh that they might have cooked on Shabbos, right? Because they weren't careful in the Hilchos and Bishul. Are you allowed to eat from the foods? I remember I got a psak, or a Yonasan sack. He says you can rely, even though technically the law is not like Rabbi Meir, who says b'shogi yochel. If he does it by mistake, we're talking about someone Amaretz who made a mistake. He doesn't know you're allowed to cook. This is called cooking on Shabbos. Still, you'd technically be allowed to eat it, but the we rely on Rabbi Meir, even though the halacha similarly follows Rabbi Yehuda. We'll see in a second. So. If you cook b'shogi, you're allowed to eat. Mezid lo yochel divrei meir. Yehuda omer b'shogi yochel l'motei Shabbos. Yehuda holds shogi you can't eat it on Shabbos. You can only eat it on motei Shabbos. Mezid lo yochel lamas he does it on purpose. He's a knas you can't eat it forever. Yochanan Sandler omer b'shogi yochel motei Shabbos la'acherim v'lo. On motei Shabbos he could eat it. He can't eat it. He never eat it, right? But other people could eat it on motei Shabbos as long as you waited the amount of time it takes to cook. Kedei sheyaseh. Like the Gemara in Beitza. The Mezel Yechal Lamis, Lo 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 Acherim. He does it on purpose. He can't eat it forever, not him and not anybody else. So we see for Yochanan Sandler If you do it amazing, you do it on purpose. Not only is it also to you forever, it's also to everyone forever. So you see, there's a Isser Gomer for not only for you to eat it, because not only can you eat it, but no one else eat it. Now, I think, we always say, I remember the psak was, you can rely on Rabbi Meir, but I think it's pretty clear from this Gemara that when Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda say, Rabbi Meir says, B'shogeg yochal, mezid lo yochal, they're both talking about yourself, right? B'shogeg yochal, mezid lo yochal, the Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, B'shogeg yochal, Motzei Shabbos, on Shogeg Yidin Motzei Shabbos, who? You! But somebody else could eat or eat it on Shabbos. So you don't have to say, because we hold the Rabbi Meir, B'shas HaTchak. No, like I think the Mishnah Berurah Paskins, or the Shulchan Aruch Paskins, and Simon Shin and Chesed, you can pass like Rabbi Meir B'shas HaTchak. You don't have to say that based on our Gemara. The Gemara seems to be implying Reb Yochanan Sander is the only one who distinguishes, who tells us there's no distinguishing between the person who cooked and the person and somebody else, right? And that's the Gemara's proof that it's Shchita Shein Ruya, like Reb Yochanan Sander. Why is it not a proof according to Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda says also Mezid lo yochal alamis. He says Mezid lo yochal alamis. Why is it like Reb Yochanan Sander? The Gemara says obviously according to Rabbi Yehuda and according to Rabbi Meir, they're only talking about the person who cooked the shogeg or mezid. But according to them, both Rabbi Yehuda and Meir and Rabbi Yehuda hold somebody else who didn't do the cooking, they could even eat it on Shabbos, right? There's no penalty. Rabbi Yochanan Sander is the only one who says that even for other people they can't eat it on Motzei Shabbos. So we'll have to investigate that in Shulchan Aruch Yomi, Table and Able, when we get to Siman Yoshin Ches 318 and Orach Chaim. But for now, that's what I have to say about this. So the Gemara says, my time with the Rabbi Yochanan Sander. What's Rabbi Yochanan Sander? The answer is that the Darish Rabbi Chia Piskut the Bein Asir. Rabbi Chia made the drasha on the doorstep of the exilarch's house, the municipality's house in Bavel. Shmartem es HaShabbos ki kodesh yilachem. You should watch over Shabbos because it's kodesh. Ma kodesh aser b'achila. Just like kodesh is aser eating. Af ma'aseh Shabbos asur b'achila. So too ma'aseh Shabbos, right? To talk about Shabbos, but what is Kodesh on Shabbos? What's like Kodesh? Kodesh is Kudshim, right? Kudshim, it's Asr B'Ana. You can't eat Kudshim unless you're a Kohen, right? And it's the portion that's meant for you. Ma Kodesh Asr B'Achila. If Ma'aseh Shabbos Asur B'Achila, we learned D'Oraisa, it's Asr B'Achila. Like Reb Yochanan Sander says, amazing if he does it on purpose, it's Asr for everybody. Even Ma Kodesh Asr B'Ana, if Ma'aseh Shabbos Asr B'Ana. You might think you can't also benefit from Ma'aseh Shabbos, you can't sell it and things like that. Talmud Lomar, Lachem. The Torah is Lachem, Shalachem Yehei. So in one aspect, it belongs to you in terms of financially. You could sell it to somebody else, however you can't eat it. You might think even if you did it unintentionally, you'll also be asur. Right? If you're mechalel, and mechilul is only if you do it, then you die. This is the end of the pasuk over there, right? Only if you do it on purpose and not b'shogeg. Pligi bar Ravina. Ravach and Ravina are the following machlokas. When Rabbi Yochanan Sander meant he had a drasha seemingly kodesh hilachem, right? Is that the D'Oraisa or the Rabbanan? So one opinion says D'Oraisa. V'chadamar D'Rabbanan. My name is D'Oraisa, like the Amra, like in the pasuk. My name is D'Rabbanan. Amra kar kodeshi. What do you do with the pasuk? Kodeshi, it's kodesh. He kodesh, ve'maseh kodesh. Meaning Shabbos is kodesh, but what things that you make on Shabbos through doing malacha are not treated as kodesh. Fine. So the word is my name is D'Rabbanan. My name is D'Rabbanan. The patri. How could we figure out? How could we explain the fact that on Shabbos, right, we could say it's Shchita Shein Ruya according to Reb Shimon, it's only the Rabbanan. I mean, the Rai said it's called a Shchita Ruya, so you should be Chayav Dal B'Hei. So the Gemara answers, Kikapatri Rabbanan Ashara, Tovea Ashara. Right, the Gemara Patra, it's only 2 out of 3 cases, Shara Nitzkal and Yeshokal Avodah Zarah. But on Shabbos, the Modeh, technically you'd be Chayav both for the Shchita and for Shabbos. So the Gemara further asks, Toveach lavodas kilchav, in the case where you shecht lavodas zara, okay, when the shachar by porta, once you start doing the shchita, it's like you had kavana to serve avodah zara, and shchita avodah zara, it's even avodah zara. The first nick you put in the neck of the animal, that's already avodah zara. Okay, when the shachar by porta, it's like idach yatav lav marikatav. It comes asur b'hana, it becomes avodah zara, something that was worshipped as avodah zara, becomes asur b'hana. The Gemara says in avodah zara. Once it's asur b'hana, it loses its value. It doesn't belong when something's valueless. It doesn't belong to anybody. It doesn't belong to the owner anymore. And you're not shecht, you're not stealing. The whole purpose of tavach machar is that you're furthering the geneva, right? When you steal something, you're chayav kefel, and then when you further that geneva, either by shechting it to eat it or you sell it to somebody else, then you're chayav dalad vei by further taking it away from the bailam. But here you're not taking it away from the bailam anymore because it's asur b'hana. to actually be chayiv for Chil Shabbos, where you have to shech rov simonim, right? You have to shech the shchita is normally considered when you kill the animal, you have to shech rov the kan and the veshet, as it says in Gemara Chulin. Amar Rav Omer b'Gemara Zvicha Ovda. The case in the Bryce is talking about where he says specifically, I'm only doing the avodah zarah at the conclusion of the shchita. Amar Rabba, that's when I'm worshiping the avodah zarah. Amar Rabba, so the Gemara says Shar Niskal Lav Didehu the Katava. The same thing by Shar Niskal, right? It was already condemned, already Nigmar Dino that it's Shar Niskal, right? It killed a person, gored a person. So based in Paskin that the shor is only for skila, right? So it's valueless. It's Asr Ba'ana. The Gemara says Naki. The Gemara says Naki Umin Achasov. It's considered Asr Ba'ana the Shar Niskal. So again, it's ownerless. Lav Didehu the Katava. You're not even shechting your own thing. Amar Rabba Achamay Askinan. Shemasul Shomer. Here we're talking about a case Shar Niskal that a person gave over to a person, a Shomer Chinam, to watch. V'hizik v'beis Shomer, and when he gave it over, it was nothing wrong with it. Then it gored someone in the Shomer. That's V'nigmar Dina v'beis Shomer, and based in Paskin, while the guy was still watching it, that is chayiv skila. The gun v'ganam v'beis Shomer, and then while he was watching it, someone stole it not from the owner's house, stole it from the Shomer's house. The mayor sarva like Rabbi Yaakov, sarva like Rabbi Shimon. He holds like Rabbi Yaakov, and he holds like Rabbi Shimon. Sarva like Rabbi Yaakov, Damar Alfa Shnigmar Dino Hechziro Shomer LaBayla Muchsar. Rabbi Yaakov holds, right? Technically, I have to return something if I'm posheya in it, or let's say I'm a different type of Shomer Stachar, or I'm chayiv, and if certain things happen to it, I'm chayiv and Geneva. So if it's a Shomer Stachar, all right, he's getting paid to watch it. Maybe that's what we're talking about over here, a Shomer Stachar. So he's responsible if it gets stolen. He's responsible to pay for it. But Rabbi Yaakov says that even if it's Nigmar Dino, it's valueless. If you give it back to the owner, it's considered valuable. Here it's valued as money, because even though technically it has no value because it's Asr B'Hana, but it saves you money. It saves you money because if I'm not able to return this animal, right, then I have to pay him a new animal. So the fact that I'm able to, like Rabbi Yaakov, also return the animal, it's worth money because it saves me money. So therefore it has money. It's like Kimamon Dami, it's like money, it has the value of money, and therefore it's not considered completely valueless, and therefore Shar Niskal, you would be chayiv for a Chil Shabbos and for the Tvicha. It would be a Tvicha. Rabba Amar La'olam B'Toveach Ha'De'at. Rabba changes the ball game around. He says, no, not like Rabbi Yochanan. Changes the ball game around. You know, now I sound like a real. I feel like a real like Maggid Shir, like a full Maggid Shir. You know, like a big beard, and you know, the guy who's recognized as a recognizable Maggid Shir. I don't feel like Bensi Lang changing the ball game. You know, throwing in the ball game. You know, like to throw in those. You know, to show that I'm not so from the ball game. You know? Let's make it more professional. He does it. Rabba Amar Lolam B'Toveach Le'atzmo. Rabba changes course or gives a different explanation. Let's keep it simple. Rabba Amar Lolam B'Toveach Le'atzmo. I talk about the ball game. When I talk about the ball game, I talk about the Mets and the Braves, 4-5 against the Braves. I didn't look up what the Mets did last night. I don't know they played last night, but let's go Mets. 6.5 game lead. It's pretty good. All right. So the Gemara says. Rabba says we're talking about not the case where he shechted through a shliach in order to explain Rabbi Meir. It's talking about really the person who stole it. He also shechted, and he shechted on Shabbos, he shechted on Avodah Zarah. He shechted the Shar Niskal. So how you reconcile Rabbi Meir? How could Rabbi Meir be mechayev him both? Women would say Kimle b'Ravameh, the top of Lam Dalam and Beis. Rabbi Meir Loke u'mishalim islay, meis mishalim leislay. He holds a loke mishalim. He doesn't hold meis mishalim leislay. He really technically would not hold of kimli derabbanei. Shiny ha'hani the chiddush u'shachid Torah b'knas. Here we're talking about Geneva, which is chayav kefa, which is a knas, and dalad vei tabachom wakar. These are dalad vei. These are knasos. Right? These are penalties, fines. We're going to talk more in Yom Ben Sion what the nature of a knas is versus a simple tashlumin or restitution. Why is a knas different? It's a chiddush which a chiddush Torah b'knas avagav the miklam mishalim, and therefore, even though you're liable to death penalty for violating Shabbos or Avodah Zarah, you still have to pay the money because of the knas. So as a rabba, Rabba's going for his own svara. Dam rabba, haya gedi ganav lo. Let's say he stole a goat from somebody else. V'tavcho b'Shabbos, he stole it on Wednesday, let's say, and then on Shabbos he shecht it, chayiv. He's chayiv on Shabbos. He's chayiv dalad b'hei on Shabbos. According to chayiv b'gneva kodem shavol yisur gneva Shabbos, because he was chayiv already the Karen and the Kefil before Shabbos. Now he's just adding on 2 and 3 more times tavachol machar. So therefore, you can have a knas, like Rabbah says, you can have a knas. According to Rameir, you can have a knas and a chiyuv misa. That wouldn't say kim l'rabbanan. Kim l'rabbanan, we'd say by tashlumin, a different type of monetary payment, tashlumin and chiyuv misa. However, by knas and chiyuv misa, he would agree you get both. However, she'emein gneva, tzchayiv b'gneva kodim shabbos yisur Shabbos, ganav v'tach b'Shabbos. However, you stole the animal on Shabbos, pater she'emein gneva and tzvicha mechira. The reason being over here is because when you stole it on Shabbos, so not only you chayiv kefil for stealing, but you also chayiv the karen, which is a regular payment of tashlumin to restore the animal. So that tashlumin, right, that we would say kim l'biramin on the original payment. So on the original karen, that would pater returning the animal. So now you left, instead of dalad v'hei, you're left with gimel and dalad. And Torah said dalad v'hei, not gimel and dalad. So therefore you can't be chayiv dalad v'hei in that case. Amar Rabba. Rabba also said hayagdi ganav lo b'tavcha b'machteres. Let's say you stole a goat. I don't know why a goat. He stole the goat. I don't know. He likes goat's milk. B'tavcha b'machteres, and he was breaking into someone's house, tunneling into someone's house to steal things. In which case, when machteres, the Gemara Sanhedrin learns that if you're tunneling into someone's house, normally there's going to be a confrontation between the owner of the house and the person, and he's going to try to kill you, and you're going to try to kill him in response. So therefore, we're talking about a case where you're machteres, you're chayiv misa. You're allowed to be killed by the owner of the house, right? If he kills you when you tunnel in, he's pater. So you're chayiv misa in a certain sense. So if you stole the gedi before tunneling into the house and you shechted in the machteres chayiv, shkarnas chayiv b'gneva kodem shel yisur machteres. Again, right? You can have the chiyuv misa along with the knas, as long as there's a gneva before. And ganav v'tavcha machteres, ever you stole it, you tunneled in, and while you're in the way tunneling in, you happen to find in the tunnel. He keeps his goats, right? He keeps his goats in the tunnel. So, if you did it at the same time, pater she'ein gneva tzvicha mechira, because there's no gneva. Because kimel b'rabbanan, the chiyuv misa paters the original gneva, the compensation, the tashlumin, and therefore there's gimel of dal, not dal v'hei. The sricha, you need both of these cases of Rabbah. The yesh b'din Shabbos, mishum di surah isra olam, right? Something it's always asar on Shabbos. Machteres isra shahu. Right, your chiyuv misa is only temporarily at the time when you're tunneling in. Aim low. I wouldn't say that you're pater. V'yash mina machteres. The reason machteres, you're pater. Meaning the reason on Shabbos you're chayiv both the knas and chiyuv misa is because it's more stringent. V'yash mina machteres. Mishum the machteras zu hasra. So you don't need a hasra nor be chayiv misa when you're tunneling in. Right, the person can just kill you without a warning. All Shabbos to buy a hasra. Shabbos that you need a hasra, right? Emo lo. You might say we don't apply that you can get a knas and chiyuv Shabbos at the same time. So therefore we need both teaching. Amar Papa, a new teaching. Haisa para gnuvalo. Let's say you stole a female cow. V'tavcha b'Shabbos, and you shechen on Shabbos chayiv. You're chayiv. Shkarnas chayiv b'gneva kodem shel yisur Shabbos. Haisa para she'ulalo. Let's say the cow was not stolen, you borrowed it. V'tavcha b'Shabbos, pater, you're pater. Even though you borrowed the cow, let's say on Wednesday, once you shechted on Shabbos, you're pater. You're pater from dalad v'hei. Amrli Rav Acha b'rei Rav Ashi Rav Papa para asal shmina. Basically, told us the same thing, right? The reason being, when you stole it on Wednesday, so the gneva happened on Wednesday, and the tzvicha mechira, according to Rameir, you can have a knas and you can have a chiyuv misa. However, when it comes to she'ela, right, it was borrowed. You didn't do anything wrong. Then when you decided to shecht it on Shabbos, at that same moment you did the gneva and you did a tzvicha mechira. And Shabbos paters the gneva, the karen, so it's gimel v'dal, not dal base. It's the same thing. What is he teaching us? We just learned about a goat. Is there a difference with a cow? So. So I'm gonna Rav Papa Shula Asal. I know he's teaching us the case of Shula. When you normally borrow something, you're chayav to not only take care of it, you also have to pay to feed it. You have to feed it out of your own pocket, right? Once you do mashicha, you do a kinyan mashicha with the animal, you're chayav minzon. Here also when he did she'ela, when he borrowed the animal, is chayiv ba'onse, you might think you're also chayiv in the onsin, right? That if the onus happens to you already chayiv shashaela, kamash malan, technically you are chayiv the onsin, right? Once you borrow it, you already chayiv an onsin. However, the chiddush is you might think that when he steals the animal by shechting it, that is already like an onus. So it's an unfortunate circumstance which happened. You're paying within onus. Kamash malan, no, you're paying within geneva. It's called a geneva. It's not considered an onus which happens. You're responsible for onsin, but it's more than onus. It's a geneva, and therefore you did the geneva on Shabbos, and therefore it's gimel v'dala and not dala v'hei. I'm a Rava. Hiniach lehen. Rava says a new teaching. Hiniach lehen avian para she'ula. If your parents borrowed a cow and they died, the children, the inheritors, can continue borrowing it. Let's say they're borrowing it for 100 days. They continue borrowing it for another 50 days after the parents died, after 50 days. Mesa, if it died while they were still borrowing it, the children, ain't chayav ma'onsa. They didn't borrow it, so they're not chayav ma'onsa. Only their parents are chayav ma'onsa. You got a pretty good deal. If they thought it still would belong to their father, right after the father died, and they shechted it and they ate it, here they intentionally did something. They killed the animal, right? So they killed the animal, so you have to be machayev them. But they thought really the onsin belongs to their father, and their father's responsible to pay, and he's dead, right? So they can't be chayev a full payment, but make them pay to pay basar bezol, which the Gemara says in Baba Kama is 2/3 the value of the meat of the animal, because they're getting hana from the animal, even though they're not called a mazik of the animal intentionally, they are getting hana, their stomach, their throat is benefiting from the meat, and therefore you pay what we could assume anyone would pay for meat. The cheapest amount anyone would pay for meat is 2/3 the value of its present value. When you go for a sale in a store, right? What's considered a good sale? 2/3 off, right? If you go to that store and they have that jacket you're looking for, that leather bomber jacket, $500, normally, and now it's marked down to 2/3 of it. 2/3 of $500 would be $167 or something like that. I think that's pretty much $166.66. So if it's marked down to $334, around $334, then you know you should buy it. It's a good sale. Otherwise, you're getting ripped off. So. So, however, if their father, they also inherited real estate from their parents, right? Land, houses, they are obligated to pay. Right? This last clause, that if they have real estate the father also left to them, they have to pay. So what is that going on? Is it going on the case of where after the father died an onus happened to it, or the case where they mistakenly thought it was their father's and they shechted it? The one who says this last clause applies to the Reisha, Kolshken and Sefer, certainly the Sefer applies, right, where they're more liable because they actually did it, they killed the animal as opposed to dying of unfortunate causes. Man the master of Reisha, Kolshken and Sefer, Pliga the Rav Papa, argues on Rav Papa. Man the master of Sefer, about Reisha, Lo, Bahainu the Rav Papa. Rav Papa was the one who said that She'ula Asal Ashmoinan, right? It's only the case where She'ula, where you actually went and shechted, Rav Papa says, then you're chayav liability. If it died by itself, it's not liability. So the one who says going on the Seifa, where they shechted themselves, according to Rav Papa. The one who says on the Reisha would not accord to Rav Papa. Bishlam Rabbi Yochanan, Lama Kreish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan, right, didn't want to say that Kreish Lakish, that Mokum Lakaraban. Rabbi Yochanan gave a different answer. If you remember, from many dafim ago, a couple dafim ago, Rabbi Yochanan tried to resolve. Again, we're trying to resolve our Mishnah in the first Mishnah in Eilu Naros on Daf Chof Tet with the Mishnah in Makos. Makos seems to get Malkus if you rape a Nara who is your sister, and here in Kesubos it seems to get a Knas. Which one is it? Mamon or you get Malkus? Rabbi Yochanan says, Kancha Yisrovo, Kancha Lo Yisrovo. If they gave you Hasra, then you have Malkus, because Malkus gave Rishos, so Malkus is more severe than Mamon. So you only get Malkus. However, our Mishnah is done where they weren't Masra him, they didn't give Masra, so you can't get Malkus, so therefore you pay Mamon. So Rabbi Yochanan didn't say like Reish Lakish, Kamokim Lak Rabbanan. Reish Lakish said the third answer. Ula gave an answer. Then Rabbi Yochanan gave an answer, and Reish Lakish gives a third answer. Says that our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir, who says Lokim Mashalim. He didn't want to say like Reish Lakish because he holds like the Rabbanan. We don't hold like Rabbi Meir. Reish Lakish, my time will Amak Rabbi Yochanan. Why don't Reish Lakish say like Rabbi Yochanan? Amar L'cha Kevin Ilu Asrubei Pater, Kilo Asrubei Nami Pater. He says you can't make a distinction whether it's Hasra or not Hasra. If you're Chayiv Malkus and you're Pater Ben Amamo and there's a Hasra, even though technically we can't administer Malkus, right? If there's no Hasra, you should Pater for the Mamo, which is like the Svara I said in Ula, that Ula holds this also. Comes to Mamo and Malkus, right? the Malkus Paters the Mamon. Difference in Reish Lakish and Ula, I think Reish Lakish agrees technically that Malkus is more severe than Mamon, and therefore we're going to see Chayv Misa Shogin or Chayv Malkus Shogin or Chayv Malkus where there's no Hasra, it would pater the Mamon because really Malkus is more severe. And even though you don't get the Malkus, it still paters. It's not because Basin can't administer two punishments, it's because the Malkus paters the Mamon even though you don't actually get Malkus. They go according to reason. The Chiyasa Rav Dimi came. Amar Chayv Misa Shogin, Chayv Malkus Shogin. Let's say you were Chayv Misa B'Shogeg. You violated Shabbat B'Shogeg. You bring a korban, Achatas, Chayv Malkus Shogin, or you did something that warrants Malkus. You did it unintentionally. You don't get Malkus. The door Acher. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chayv. Rabbi Yochanan says you're Chayv. Reish Lakish are you Chayv the Mamon. Reish Lakish Amar Pater. Reish Lakish says you're still Pater from them. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chayv the Halo Asrubei. You can't administer the punishment of Malkus, so you get Mamon. Reish Lakish Amar Pater came into Asrubei Pater. Kil Asrubei Nami Pater. We'll talk more about the Shita of Nechunim Ben Akana tomorrow, who is really the author, the Tanu, who says the Svara, that just like your Pater, if you get the Malkus, you'll be Pater even if you don't get the Malkus, because you're in Avera, which normally warrant Malkus, but you can't get Malkus either because either B'Shogeg or there was no Hasra, and therefore it would Pater anyway from the Mammon. This is the third Shita. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed today's share. I want to talk in Iyod Ben Tzvi. I want to talk about the difference between a Tashlumin and a Knas. And why should it be that you can get Misa and a Knas as opposed to Tashlumin and a Knas? See you there.